All right, y'all. Welcome back and happy Tuesday. Today we're going to be talking about commit season for our Tennessee Volunteers because that's what time it is. OV season's over with. The dead period started, and over the next couple of weeks, we'll know how the 2026 class is going to look. I think that we'll finish pretty strong. We'll probably end in a relatively good spot. But there are some red flags that I want to talk about today. As always, do us a favor, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Later on today on our Patreon, we're going to be dropping some inside notes and news and things like that. Y'all will definitely want to lock into it. That's for the $5 memberships only, patreon.com/Bluechip Breakdown. If you want to stay locked in with what's going on with our football team behind the scenes, you definitely want to tune in. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the bulk of this video. Number one, Javonte Smith, 3-star cornerback, just came on the OV last weekend. I said I didn't feel like Tennessee was in the best spot with him, but Austin Price said that we have a chance, right? Like he said that it feels like maybe Tennessee's starting to gain some ground. He also said, from what I took, that if he pushes his date back, which he was supposed to come out and say where he's going earlier today, but he said that if he ends up pushing that back to early next month, it might be good for our Tennessee Volunteers. That's exactly what he's doing. So he's moved that to July the 8th, which I think is a Tuesday. We'll be following that very closely. Obviously, this team needs to add as many secondary players as we possibly can because I think that at this point, we're kind of shorthanded. All right, so with all that being said, y'all, let's go ahead and shift gears. Let me show you how Tennessee's class looks and, where we're ranked at with 24/7 Sports up to this point. So y'all can see the teams up at the top, those top three: USC, A&M, Notre Dame. You're seeing Georgia right there. Georgia really, I told y'all, man, they're going to start to fall off because they don't pay kids. Like they're able to get by with, hey, we've won championships previously, and kids fall for that crap. I have no idea why, but they're getting really close to just being a total non-factor. And if Kirby Smart doesn't have, like top three classes stacked up for 3 to 4 years, he ain't even going to sniff a national championship. Okay. So to me, like I said, they're a total non-factor, but look at how far down this list we have to go. Pay attention to all the teams that are ranked over Tennessee at this point. Now, over these next couple of weeks, we will move up these rankings, but a lot of these other teams will as well. So right here, man, Tennessee's ranked at number 41. We're down here with what I think is really bad company. Vanderbilt, TCU, Purdue. Like, there's no reason that Tennessee is this low with anything with our football team. That needs to get fixed, I think, exponentially, or it needs to get fixed expeditiously. So either way, let's go on and take a look right here at On Three. So this is On Three's class rankings in a much better spot here, right? You can see the top three programs are still up at the top, so they're doing a really good job. Tennessee's not even sniffing that, right? And we are actually ranked at number 15. So we're ranked below some teams that we did better than last season, like we talked about with Kirby Smart, with UGA. It's kind of starting to fall off with Alabama just because Saban's not there now. But, we shouldn't be finishing behind teams that I thought had more money than with NIL, and also that we're doing better than on the field. Now, we also have not been producing very many NFL players. That's a place that we definitely need to take a step forward, but everything comes full circle. If you can't get in these players because you're not closing, even with more money than some of these other programs, then it's going to be tough for you to, win championships or be closer to it. Now, we made it to the college football playoffs last season. That was huge, but we're not really putting too many players pro. I mean, defense, we're definitely doing it there, but even with the places that we're putting players pro at, you'll notice we're not doing the best job of closing. So something that Brent Hubbs and Austin Price and all those guys have talked about with this staff is that we just aren't overly pushy with these players on these visits. That has to change. Like, moving forward, it's probably too late for this class. There's not going to be any more visits. Like, there's no more OVs. If some of these players are still stuck around, they haven't chosen school, or they're still, weighing all their options once the season starts up, then yeah, they can come up on some unofficial visits and watch ball games and all that. But we have to, try to close on these players. It's just like sales. With sales, you've got to at least ask. You've got to ask for the purchase. We're not doing that enough. And I think that it's cool that the staff is just so genuine and down to earth. And it feels like they're all really good dudes. But it's not working at this point, right? Like, it should be in the business of winning championships. Again, we were close last year. How's it going to look this year? How's it going to look moving forward? For that to happen, we got to consistently be at least top 10 and really top 5 as far as all these classes go. And y'all know that I take the rankings and the ratings and all that with a grain of salt, but I don't think some of these sites, like 24/7 Sports, they've got us all the way down to number 41. It's all relative. Whether it's 24/7 Sports or it's On Three, it's relative. If other classes are doing better than us, that's still a problem. You know what I mean? So I just think that we've got to do a much better job of closing. And, that's the first place that I wanted to try to set the stage at for everything that we're going to be talking about today. So as far as the red flags that I'm seeing up to this point, number one, This is how Tennessee's D tackle room is going to be looking in 2026. So, looking at guys like David Hobbs, I've got him highlighted in orange because I think that he will probably go pro after this year. Just don't even look at him like he's going to be part of this team next year. So we've got guys like Wallace, who I don't think is going to have the opportunity to play this year because he was injured, or because he is injured. And then we have Campbell. He's a young guy. He's going to get to play, I think, a lot this year. He's going to be fine. 5-star guy. Again, the ratings take it with a grain of salt. But watching him play, you can tell that he does have the skill set necessary to play pretty much anywhere for us up front, probably outside of Leo, and I think at a really high level. Nathan Robinson, he's consistently banged up, but I think he's got a really good skill set. He should be back for us. He might have to start. We'll see. But then we have guys like Ethan Utley, who I think could also start. It could be him and Campbell as our starting tackles next season. But we want to rotate 6 to 7 guys. There's only 6 to 7 guys here. I just think that we're already pretty much shorthanded. Ethan Utley, I think that he's looked, or it sounds like he's looked really good so far. He's gained the weight. I think he's going to be a very good football player. Charles House, haven't seen him in spring because he just got up over the summer, but I think that he's going to be fine moving forward. I don't know that he gets to play too much this year. It'd be great if he does because all these guys need to get out there and just pretty much earn their stripes for next year. And then we have guys like Josh Shell who transferred in. He could come back unless he has a really big year. Then he's probably going to end up going pro, but more than likely, I see him coming back. As far as who we already have inside of this class, guys like Zach Groves at 6'4", 240. I think he's only 14 or 15, so he's really young for this class. I think that he could definitely move inside and play some tackle for us, maybe more strong side in, but that's how we're looking. So this is why I've said we got to go out and add at least 2 to 3 tackles that, and I'd say one of them needs to be able to play some this year or not this year, but in 2026, at least fight for that. But it would really be a much better situation if we have 2, maybe even 3 guys that we feel like, hey, if we have to rotate these guys in, then they can play. So we're shorthanded with our tackle room. That's a bad place to be shorthanded at with the staff that likes to rotate 6 to 7 guys, and playing in the SEC when it's all about trench play, you need some dogs up front. So the next room that I feel like there's a really big red flag with is with our Leos. This is something that I want to say that it was Charles that brought it up to us yesterday in our live stream. And Charles, thank you for chiming in. Definitely not picking on you, but I really just wanted to kind of shout you out. But either way, right? He said that he feels like we didn't really need Tristan Givens because our Leo room is going to be loaded moving forward. So this is how it's going to look for 2026. Caleb Herring, he could go pro. I think that there's a pretty strong chance that he does go pro. For all the guys that I have highlighted here that I feel like could end up going pro, you want them to have a good year in 2025 and then go on pro, just because that's going to help us moving forward. So being optimistic, he ends up leaving. So what does that leave us with? Well, Jordan Ross, he's going to be really freaking good. I think he's going to have a good year in 2025. 2026, that's his send-off year. He should be a stud. That's when I think he's going to start to get to that James Pierce level. But then you have guys like Christian Gass, who was a stand-up linebacker, kind of came off of the edge some in high school. Not quite sure what he's going to be able to do for us this year, but moving forward, man, he's going to have to get some stripes, right? Like he's going to be one of the guys that's going to get rotated in because here we rotate about 3 players. Kellen Lindstrom, he's more of a strong side in. That's what we got him for. But, he's only 240, right? So unless he's gained a lot more weight heading into the season, he's probably going to have to stick at Leo because he's just not big enough to play strong side in for us. So he's a really good player, but I think that he is more of a strong side in. He can rush the passer, but I just don't. It's going to be a drop off, y'all. That's my whole point. It's not going to be like this year, man. We've got Caleb Herring, we've got Joshua Josephs, and Jordan Ross. That's our 3. Already looking at this, you can tell that the 3 is not going to be nearly as deep from what we're seeing right now. And then we have Emmanuel Okoye, who is still kind of new to playing football, didn't get to do too much last season. That's going to probably, obviously, it's going to set him back. But if you're really new to playing this sport, you need as many reps as you could possibly get. Now, from the time that he came up on campus to what we've seen here as recently as, like him kind of like running around and doing a couple of things, not full contact or nothing like that. I think that he looks a lot better, looks more acclimated to playing football. He has a super high ceiling. If he's gotten it figured out, then yes, that's a great option, but we just don't know. And then we have CJ Edwards. He's the only person in this class that I feel like could actually play Leo for us. So this is a huge red flag for me because we're talking about 2 spots where Tennessee has, put out the most NFL players, and we're still not able to close. That's a huge issue. If we can't close there, then that we're going to have some trouble closing in some other spots. So it just leads me to think that something is off, right? Like something else has to be going on. Coach Garner's been a closer in the SEC for decades, right? Like Coach Chop, he's been with Coach G for a long time. Those are our best 2 closers. If they're not doing the best job of closing this year, That's a huge problem. So I just think that we need to be a little bit more pushy with these players. Now, the last room that I want to show y'all is our safety room. And we talk about this so much, but this is how I think the room's going to look next season. So we've got two veterans up top that will get to play a lot this year. I feel fine about those two, but then you have Sidney Walton, who also should have to play some this year, just because we don't have as many bodies inside of that room. Tim Merritt, I've got him highlighted in yellow just because he actually was already moved to cornerback in spring practice, but I think that he's going to have to move back to safety. He's going to have to gain some weight, get bigger, and all that good stuff. But he could be another option for us there, which would be very positive. But then you've got two guys currently in this class, and they're both projects. I could honestly see a world where Luke Thompson ends up maybe playing wide receiver. I think that he's a lot more natural there. And then with KJ, he might move to star. I think that that's more natural for him. So again, man, we've got to do a much better job of closing out with these players, and especially in spots where we have a really high need at. So that's going to bring me to the next thing that I want to show y'all, and this is the number 2 safety in the country. Okay, this is Jet Washington. He plays at Bishop Gorman. And y'all can see him playing here, 6'5", like over 200 pounds. I actually think that he's Kobe Bryant's nephew. But playing at Bishop Gorman, that's they're going to be playing a national schedule. Everyone that he's playing, it's really good. It's not like this is a low level of competition, but look at how flawless and how easy he's moving past all these guys. He is elite. There's no reason that Tennessee wasn't even, I don't think, in his top 10. He never even mentioned Tennessee, not one time throughout this entire process that I could find. So that's a huge problem. Understanding that, coming into this year, we had to add some safeties. Now, this is something that P and I talked about last night on our Patreon too. Again, patreon.com/Bluechip Breakdown. Check it out. But, we were talking about why didn't we hold on to at least one of the safeties that we let leave, because we let 3 guys leave. And then why didn't we go add anybody from the transfer portal? The only thing that we could think of, and it's not just about safeties, but also with wide receivers, we could have added some depth there too. But we just felt like, well, these kids are asking for so much money in this last transfer portal window with the house settlement coming up and all that good stuff. So we felt like Tennessee would be allocating or saving some money, okay, from the transfer portal, from the window to the spring window, and then allocating that to this 2026 class. It doesn't feel like that's the case. So, we are wondering, do we have some sort of a money issue? Like, what is the issue? Not sure, but there is one, because there's no reason that our safety room looks the way that it's probably going to look this year, and then, well, definitely this year, but then definitely, also heading into 2026. That's a major problem. That's a major red flag. So we've got to figure out what the problem is, and we've got to step it up somehow, some way, if we want to be able to win championships. So with that being said, let me show y'all the next player. And we've talked about Joel Wyatt so much. Right now it's us or it's Vanderbilt. It sounds like Vandy's going to let Joel play some safety. And we've said it. I think everyone pretty much feels the same way. He might be better suited to play at safety because he's so thin. He's 6'4", 6'5". We just looked at Jet, who is about the same height. He's definitely, thicker than Joel Wyatt is. But, if Jet can play at safety at his size, then why do we think that Joel couldn't do it, but we're going to try to push him to play Leo and play up front, where he's got to gain a lot more weight? That's a problem. So Austin Price said that he was up over 200 pounds. I'm not sure if he said 220 or not, but I don't know. I mean, he looks very thin to me. Either way, the whole point here is, will he be, or can he be like a Jet Washington playing at safety? I don't think that his skill set is on that level. I personally feel like Jet is probably, he's one of the best safety prospects I've seen in a long time. He was pretty high on his film too, but he likes Moa a little bit better than he likes Jet, right? So I just wanted to throw that out there for y'all. But yeah, I think that if nothing else with Joel, if he wants to play safety, which he came out and said, hey, I want to play safety, over playing Leo, then why not let him try that out first? And then once he starts to go through the one-on-ones and stuff, he realizes if this is the case, hey, I can't cover these guys, then move him down to linebacker. You know what I mean? Like if safety's one thing, and then if the line is the other thing, what's in between that? Linebacker. And I don't mean to undermine what the staff is doing, but just looking at this class, right? Like looking at where we're currently ranked, and we'll also take a look at my class. But we need to add as many good players as we possibly can. And if that means, hey, you kind of got to like let a kid start off where he wants to play at, and then if he has to move, then you just move him. If he transfers out, then you deal with that once you have to deal with it. Then you need to start doing more of that, right? Like, just because this is not a sport, this is not a business where nice guys are going to be finishing first. Nice guys definitely finish last on this level. So we've got to get a little bit more dog out of this staff, I think, so that we can land some of these types of players. And something else that I want to, just like throw out there is, what the heck is actually going on, with players, not going pro, like with our systems, right? Especially with the offense. Could that be one of the issues? That's something else that P and I have touched on. There's just a lot of things that Tennessee needs to get fixed in a very short period of time. Because right now with the house settlement, everyone's got some type of money, which is why with 24/7 Sports, you see Tennessee is up under so many like lower tier programs because now they can overpay some of these guys. And if we didn't have more NIL money than those top tier programs, like where are we going to end up at? I just think that there are several things that we could point to that are red flags, and we have to get it figured out. So that's where I'm at with that. But there's a couple more things that I do want to point out to y'all. So we're going to go back and we're going to take a look at how this class is going to end up panning out, or at least how I think is going to end up panning out right here. So these are all the players that I think Tennessee will end up adding, and y'all can see that with the tackles, right? I only have two guys, and that would be the one that says DL, but I think that we're only going to get two tackles, really one true tackle, which is, I think he's going to be really good. And then we have one guy that can maybe grow into a tackle. That's just not enough. And then you come down looking at the safeties. Like we talked about, if we can add a player like a Joel Combe, that helps because then you've got a guy that can come in and fight for some real playing time. Two, kind of like project guys that might be able to grow into it within a couple of years. But I would also love to go out and add a Moa because Moa, I think, could come in and really push and be really freaking good. And I also with P saying that he feels like Moa is a better looking prospect to him than Jet Washington. That speaks volumes. Okay. P plays some safety. He knows exactly what he's talking about there. So I just think that we've got to find ways, and it doesn't really matter what we have to do, but we got to find ways to add maybe some more money or something. So, we love being called the everything school, right? And that's something that P and I also touched on. There's a lot of folks that have some good things to say about, well, Tennessee, they're up there, like they've got really good programs, but we don't really have any championship programs outside of baseball. Okay. So, something that we've talked about is would it be beneficial for us to maybe take a step back from allocating so many funds to some other sports and just focus on football? This is the way that I look at it personally is we should say, okay, until we aren't getting outbid for, really any players with our football program, we can't really allocate any funds anywhere else. That's the way that I would do it personally. Honestly speaking, is because football takes care of everything. If you've got a good football program, then you're going to have good, pretty much good other programs. And even with baseball, we've had the number one roster several times. P brought this up. We only won one championship. Baseball is just one of those sports. Even this year, 2025, it was us and it was Arkansas that had the best two rosters probably in all of college baseball. We didn't, neither one of those teams won the World Series. So baseball is just one of those sports that everything has to really come together almost perfectly for you to win. And you could probably do it with players that are more bought in than really having the overwhelming talent. Okay. That's the way that I look at it. But football is not so much built that way. You need to have elite talent if you want to be able to win some national championships, which is my goal. I don't know what other people's goals are. If you just want to say, hey, we're just happy just to be a part of something, like we're happy to beat our rivals every now and then, we're happy to have an opportunity to make it to the college football playoffs, then yeah, let's just keep on doing what we're doing. But if you want to win a national championship, I think that something does need to give, and it needs to give sooner rather than later because it's only going to get harder for us to get the proper talent in that we need to get to that point, right? So we were close to it last season. I think that this year would have been a great opportunity. We could still do it. We'll see how the quarterbacks, end up looking. But we've got to find ways to like Nico, right? Like, and there's a lot of things that's come out with the whole Nico situation that leads me to think it might have been the best thing for us just to let him go. Feels like he wasn't fully locked in with this program. Now I don't know that for sure, but that's just from what I've heard. So if that's the case, then yeah, like you have to let those players walk. But at the same time, maybe he wasn't locked in because he didn't feel like the money was proper. I think that with players of that ilk, you have to be able to give them the money or whatever it takes just to make them happy. Because guess what? Teams like Texas, they're not struggling with that. There's a lot of other programs. Oregon, they're not struggling with that, right? Like all of the big boy programs, that's not a struggle. So if you want to be able to beat them, you've got to be on the same level with things like that. But those are my thoughts, man. Those are the red flags that I see so far with this team, with this class. I hope that it ends up finishing strong. Even if we were to add, like a Tristan Keys and then, like add a Darius Gray, I think that Savion Hyder is pretty much a, done deal. But if we could add all those players, this class still might not even crack like the top 12. So I think that should tell you something. But those are my thoughts. Please share yours with me down in the comment section. And as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check us out tonight on Patreon, patreon.com/Bluechip Breakdown for the inside information. And we'll be talking to y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace. Thanks for watching, and please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel because that keeps us growing inside of the YouTube algorithm. And if you did like this video, here's another one that you might also enjoy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.